Well, I thought now that everybody is out socially distancing themselves, that maybe you'd all be so bored to tears that you would find that listening to me blather on about music would be a reasonable alternative to said boredom. So I've taken a significant break from playing music, and that's because I went to Colorado, which was cool, and I got to visit friends and do all sorts of cool things. One of the things, though, that I did, which ended my trip, which was crashing on my skis, which is not a big deal because you go skiing, you crash. But in this case, I landed on a stump and beat the ever living crap out of myself, including knocking myself unconscious, which is the first time I've ever done that. And so, what I did is I hit this broken stump kind of in my neck and in my chest, and now everything in here is all freaking mangled, and I got busted cartilage and all sorts of fun stuff. Although at this point, I've gone from pain to endless aching, and now I'm just sore all the time. And the biggest thing to me was just that sleeping was near on impossible because every time you rolled over, you'd move those ribs around and they'd detach from whatever piece of cartilage they had stuck themselves on from, and you'd wake up. So that was all kind of a nightmare. But anyway, I haven't been entirely neglecting my music. I am working my way through the song that, before my trip to Colorado, I was kind of leading you guys along on. And there's a couple of things that slowed things down significantly. And one was that I need to write lyrics for it. And that's proving to be quite a challenge only because the nature of the song is that I've got 4/4 time, I've got 3/4 time, I've got 5/4 time, I've got 7/8 time, and I've got something that the click track insists is 3/8, but it feels like 2/4 time. But sometimes you just make the click track do something that you can work with and then call it quits rather than trying to really figure out what's really going on. Now, because of all these time signature changes, it means that, as we go from one to the other, the rhythm of the lyrics, of course, has to fit into the new time signature. So that's been, kind of a challenge. I'm also made this even more problematic for me because I decided in the lyrics that I was going to tell a story. And telling a story means that you've got to set up scenes and have a plot and have a characters and have this whole thing move through some sort of narrative arc and come to a conclusion. And given that music goes by really rather quickly and you don't have a whole lot of time to go blah 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 like you do in a book, um, you can paint yourself into some pretty spectacular corners. Now, typically when people say you painted yourself in a corner, it's like this was a bad idea or you screwed up. I think musically, if you paint yourself into a corner, what you have is this wonderful opportunity to figure out how the hell to get out of that corner. And it's not like I didn't see this coming when I got this idea in my head that I was going to throw all these different time signatures at this piece of music. I certainly knew that I was going to run into some lyrical challenges in the long run, and that's great. Let's figure out how to do it. Not only how to jam something in there sideways or whatever, beat it in there with a hammer, but to make it feel fluid. I think the miracle of, not miracle, but when it's really done right, when you use an odd time signature, nobody really notices because it's got a rhythm, you follow the rhythm, everything fits together. There's examples of huge popular hits in weird time signatures that the average person has no idea what the heck's going on. They just know it's a cool tune, and that's kind of what you shoot for. So that's what I'm doing. I'm working on lyrics. I'm also another great roadblock for any piece of music I do is putting the drum tracks in. Especially with all these different time signature, I can groove my way around 4/4 pretty good. The funny thing is the 5/4 stuff is actually coming really natural, and it's the 3/4 time and the 7/8 time, which is kind of kicking my butt a little bit. I'm getting stuff, but at this point, I've played the drum tracks 5 times, and I'm looking through it and saying, which pieces do I want to keep? Which pieces do I want to get rid of? Um, where are the cool ideas, and what are the parts to, get rid of? And when I'm looking through that and kind of, piece something together that I like, I'll have to decide, is that good enough, or do I go and play it a few more times? Now, what I'm not doing is playing the same damn part 5 times to try and get it right. What I'm doing is throwing 5 different ideas at it. Now, one thing that becomes clear is that when I've got a good idea, then I do kind of play a very similar part in that piece over and over again. But when I don't, what I want to do is kind of let loose and say, well, let's play something different in here and see if that really links up or if it doesn't. So at this point, I'm not doing as much playing. Part of that is because, I've smashed all this crap in my chest. A whole lot of flapping around of my arms that takes place when playing instruments is just like achy, achy, ow. So I'm spending my time more on the computer working with what I've got. So of those 5 parts, I might go like, wow, this first verse, I like that. Okay, we're keeping that. The second verse of the third part, I like that. We're going to use that. And then we kind of make this collage-like thing. It's all me playing, but it's from different parts, which is a very common thing. It's called comping tracks. It's a compilation of tracks, and you pick the best parts out of it. Almost everything you listen to, unless it's a live performance, probably has some level of comping going on. So that's where I am at this point with playing music. Now, there is another thing, of course, when I came back, you thought, oh, well, I can finish up that song, and that's exactly what I didn't do. What I started doing instead is writing an entirely new song. Now, there's a side of you that's tempted to go like, well, isn't that just procrastination because you want to do the fun part of creation rather than finishing up the song? I like finishing songs. I like the feeling of accomplishment. I started writing this other song mainly because the song appeared and said, I'm here, you need to record me. And you go like, oh, okay, yeah. And then you rush and you light up the computer and put up mics and stuff and start playing. Because songs can be kind of fussy. They can show up on your doorstep and say, hey, I'm here, you need to record me. And if you go, nah, I'm gonna wait, then it will go like, nah, screw you, I'm out of here. And then you've lost that opportunity. So when those things come, whatever their gestation period is, they're sitting there doing their thing in the background. And, when that day comes, they said, hey, I'm ready. I'm coming out your fingers. Here I am. I'm a musical idea. But I had this thought, especially when I was going like, oh, great, another kind of half-finished song to go with everything else. I kind of thought that I was thinking of sensory deprivation tanks, and this is how I'm going to tie this all in. You go in a sensory deprivation tank, and you stay in there long enough, your eyes will tend to hallucinate. It's actually not your eyes, it's the brain, because that brain that's trying to process visual information goes like, I've had nothing to process for the longest time, and I'm bored, so I'm just going to start making some stuff up. And I think in a way the musical brain is kind of like that. I have trained my brain to write music since I was a kid, and if I haven't written something for a long time, that part of the brain just says, come on, I want to do my thing. I want to write a song. It's like, here it comes. And you go like, what? Okay, here we go. And you start writing. So it'd been a while since I wrote anything, and this idea came up. And so I said, okay, let's give this thing a whirl. So the current state of things are the song that I've been leading you through. It's writing lyrics, working out the drum tracks. When I've got that done, of course, I'm going to have to sing the thing, which means I'm going to have to spend a lot of time rehearsing the vocal part, because guitar is kind of easy to play, cello is really hard to play, and the human voice is kind of like infinite variables. So if you're going to do even, my typical half-ass job that I do, it's going to take a tremendous amount of work to make it happen. So, anyway, I have kind of impressed myself that I've been able to blab along pretty much one take all the things that I'm thinking about music at this point, and I might as well call it quits before I stumble over any more words. Bye.